During your spare time, I would appreciate it if you could click the bell icon and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on the latest exciting stories. Let us say that my ex-wife had the name Kanze, who was 34 years old, and I had the name Henry, who was 30 years old. Having a bit of background information would give you a better understanding of what is going on. It was 2 years ago that I was struggling as a journalist after graduating from the grassroots journalism program at the University of Oklahoma. That was a hard time I am going through, due to the fact that companies need people with experience and I don't have any. I've no doubt that without getting a job, I would be able to show them the experience I have was impossible. I went to a restaurant in order to meet with a friend of mine who was working at a news channel to get the details about how to join and if there was any openings available in his office. Sadly, he disappointed me because he had hired someone else for the position on his channel. When I was returning, it was luck that I was able to see Kenzie Tyler, who was working or maybe doing something on her laptop, who was the anchor of the channel. Although I am not very familiar with her work, I have seen her talk shows and I have read her blogs. As a matter of fact, I thought that it would be a good idea to meet her there in any case. After meeting her for the first time, I was able to introduce myself and tell her a bit about myself within a few seconds. My question to her was if she could give me any tips on how to get this job or what should I do in order to obtain it. Because she was a bit busy, she just replied that she was busy and that's all she could say. By the way, while giving me her card, she told me that I should be in touch with her as soon as possible. A day later, I contacted her and she told me that there was a job available in her office, but a candidate got hired before me, so I did not get the job. It was a sad moment for me. There is a new beginning for me as I start to visit different channel offices again. It has been a difficult couple of weeks for me. The next day, I received a phone call from Kenzie informing me that the person who got hired had left the job due to a personal issue. Therefore, she would like me to come and conduct an interview with her. Despite the fact that it was a hope, I was mentally prepared to face the failure if it came. I somehow managed to get a job there by the help of God, and I started working there as an assistant as soon as I got hired. However, what matters most is the fact that I have worked for 2 months. I felt like Kinsey sometimes watched me from her cabin, or that her eyes were whispering something to me, like she was sending me a message. I remember one night when she told me she needed me to stay with her so that I could assist her. It was not my responsibility to assist her, but I agreed to help her because I owe her a debt of gratitude. As the night went on, we became closer and more physical, and we became intimate. The beginning of our relationship can be traced to this point. A few days after this incident, she revealed to me that she began to like me as a result of what had happened. For me, that was not a surprise, as I had the feeling that this was where our love story would begin. Due to the fact that she worked as an anchor, she was able to help me become a journalist. As a result, I was also placed on a fire post and earning a decent salary. I had experienced a lot of changes in my life in just 1 year. Aside from that, we were in the process of writing our love story. In the end, we decided to get married in order to be together forever. We had just begun a new chapter in our lives, and it was a very exciting one. When I think about my past after I got married, there are times when I wish to thank God that He had sent me Kenzie into my life. In some ways, she's been such a blessing in my life that I cannot even imagine that a year from now, I will become a journalist after all the hardships I have been through. In any case, we've started a new chapter in our lives. Even though she was my very senior, she was so modest that she was not able to make any difference to me until today. Since the first day I met her, I believed that she would be the one who would be loyal to me in this world, and I was also deeply in love with her because of her behavior with me. But I was clueless about the fact that a storm was coming in my life that would wreck everything in my hands. The first 10 months of our marriage was the best months of our marriage. Then our new branch head, Brad, who had been a friend of Kenzie's for a long time, was appointed. Her happiness was heightened because Brad joined her as a colleague. I remember the day when he joined. Due to a paperwork that had to be done at the bank, I was a bit late from the office. As soon as I walked into the office, Kenzie was there with the department head in her office. Upon my arrival, she just told me that Brad is going to be the head of our department from now on. The strange thing about the whole thing was that she did not tell him that I was the husband. As a matter of fact, I found it quite strange. At the moment, I did not want to say anything, but in my lunch break, I went to meet Kenzie in her office and asked her what was going on, why she didn't introduce me as her husband. Afterwards, she said that she had informed him about me. In any case, I also noticed that both of them had a strange sense of frankness towards each other. As it turned out, I may have been mistaken because they were friends from the college, and I thought that they might have been the reason for their connection. With me as a friend, Kenzie's behavior began to change as well. Well, I don't understand its why. In the office, I could understand, but at home, I don't understand. She was always glued to her cell phone whenever we reached home, and every time we got home, random laughters would start coming out of their cell phone. It's hard for me to explain what was going on. In the beginning, I was very hesitant to speak to her, but since she was my wife, I had full authority over her, so finally I spoke with her about her changing behavior after so much hesitation. In response, she just laughed and said that she does not think so she is not changing. The fact of the matter is that she started staying happy all the time from that point on. I found that to be unusual for me. The fact that she wasn't like this was something I was well aware of about her nature. In any case, I also had intended to bring up the topic of having children in my speech. During the early stages of the treatment, she penetrated nexoplanin into her body in order to prevent pregnancy from occurring. In the evening of Friday, I thought it would be a good idea to speak to her about this matter. There was a little bit of alcohol in her system. During our conversation, she began to argue with me. It was the first time she made a big issue out of me, telling her the truth about the fact that we would be having a child. I was hit with a glass of wine that she threw at me. It was obvious that she was in an unconscious state, so I got her to the bed and put her to sleep as soon as possible. As I looked at her cell phone, I noticed that Brad had made 29 calls to her. It was quite strange to me that he had called her for no apparent reason. Despite this, it was remarkable why he would call about 29 times to a married woman in the middle of the night when he knows. In the past, I have never touched her cell phone without her permission, and I did not attempt to touch it that night either. It had been a week since that incident happened. A file of papers had to be brought to her as a matter of course. In a hurry, I managed to get it to her office. When she checked the file, she found that one copy of the document was missing. After that, she started yelling at me, saying, "Why the hell is that copy missing?" And I was so shocked by the tone in which she was talking to me at that point. The only thing I said was that I would bring it to her. I was told by her that you are a very irresponsible person. At the same time, Brett came and started telling her to calm down in the meantime. Do you not think that this is a strange situation? During a fight between a girl and her husband, a male friend came into the room and calmed the girl down. It seems to me very strange, and I've got the vibe that they may have been having an affair. The woman insulted me in front of the entire office staff, but I remained silent because our co-workers were watching us at the time and I don't want to be disrespected in the office. I was drinking in the middle of the night when she arrived. The only thing she said to me was, "I am sorry," and then she went to sleep in her room. In addition to this, she also started to eat dinner outside as a part of the new thing. As I recall, we have not had dinner together for the last 3 weeks. It was 4 p.m. when I left for the office, and Kenzie had her own timeline based on her work schedule. She used to come home late at night. However, as soon as I returned home, I was able to work as well. There was a report that I was working on during those days. I had left one of the files in the office and I had forgotten about it. The problem is that I need it at the moment and I needed it urgently. Due to this unfortunate circumstance, it was necessary for me to go out to the office and get the file from the office. About 8 o'clock in the evening, I went to the office. It looks like the office was empty when I arrived. Having file taken, I was about to leave when I took it. When I was passing by Kenzie's office, I heard a voice that sounded like it was coming from inside. There was a feeling that it was the voice of Kenzie speaking. There was also a light in the room. From the window, there was a gap where I could see whatever was going on outside. I felt like I was being shaken to the core when I saw what I saw, and it made me feel like I was being blown away by life. The pain in my stomach started suddenly, and also I was astonished by what I was seeing. This was an unbelievable scene that I couldn't believe I was watching at such a time. Brad was on Kenzie when I saw him. When my heartbeat started pumping badly that time, I started feeling dizzy. After a while, they began to take off their clothes one by one. Then all of a sudden, I grabbed my cell phone and started recording what was happening. Each and every move they made was recorded by me. Until that time, I had made up my mind that I would take revenge on her for what she had done to me. In order to enter the office, I broke open the door and jumped inside. As soon as they saw me, they were shocked. During this situation, I was also recording them at the same time. After Kenzie's scream, she asked me where I came from. It was then that I grabbed the clothes of the two of them and tossed them out of the room before locking it up. Their faces were filled with terror as they looked at each other. There was a sense of helplessness in their hearts. In my reply, I informed them that I had recorded of everything that they have done while I was there. Also, I am going to send this to our office group. If you do not want to do that, do what I am saying. After I was successful in persuading them not to feel it, they became willing to follow what I was telling them to do. It was my command for them to do what they were doing at that time. They were in a state of astonishment and asked me again what they needed from me. I reminded them that I was talking to them that they have to do an intimate relationship for about 2 hours continuously. In the first place, they refused to do so. It was my blackmail that compelled them to do so. Otherwise, I just need to click one button and they will be annihilated. Then I asked Brad to pass me his cell phone so I could use it. He said he did not have his cell phone. That was in his penthouses that I have thrown outside. After that, I went and got this cell phone from his pocket. My instructions were to open the lock for me. When he refused to open his phone again, I told him I was in charge of it. So he opened the phone and gave it to me. He gave me the number of his parents and family members. I immediately took note of each and every number in that list. It wasn't long before they started having relationship with each other. I told Brad that he had to do it for about 2 hours. In response to this, he said, "Are you crazy?" "Yes, I am, and you need to obey what I am telling you to do." Every time they stopped, I warned them to keep going. I remembered they did it for an hour and a half, and then Kenzie started crying and wheezing inconsolably. She begged to stop because she was feeling so much pain because she was experiencing too much discomfort. As a result, I thought that was enough for now. I also recorded all this without them knowing. After a few seconds, I opened the door from the inside and again locked the door from outside. I wanted people to see them in this intimate situation. After all that shit that happened that day, I got back to my house. As I mentioned earlier, I thought it would be nice if everyone could see their situation when they arrived early in the morning. In the aftermath of getting back home, there was still a traumatic situation in my mind that was worth trying to process. I was still caught up in the moment I was in. It had never occurred to me that she was capable of doing this to me. As soon as I poured the alcohol into the glass, I began to consume it. In this case, it was not just that my belief and my faith had been broken, but my heart itself had been broken badly. There is no way I could believe what I should do. On the other hand, I also shared those videos in the office group as well as in the family group and friends that I belonged to. Along with that, I shared all videos to Brad's contacts that I had noted. I got the news from the office the next day that Kenzie and Brad had been caught naked in the office. My luggage was already packed, and since I was living at her house, it was obvious that I had to leave as soon as possible. As I heard from the hospital that Kenzie was not in her consciousness because of her bleeding, she had been taken to the gynecologist for further treatment. Since it was not my cup of tea, I left a note on the table stating that I would deliver the divorce papers to get her as soon as possible. I then moved into an apartment and lived there for a while before I left for home. There was still a job for me, but she had left and Brad had left because their reputation had now been ruined because of the scandal. I do not know where she is at the moment. There is no doubt in my mind that she is there because she deserves it.